Sen. Adam Schiff is on the Senate floor arguing the chamber should reject Todd Blanch as Attorney General. He has structured his case around 5 distinct accusations. The first centers on a $10 billion IRS lawsuit Trump filed only after taking the presidency. A move, Schiff says, was timed deliberately so Trump could use the power of his office to influence the outcome. According to reports cited by Schiff, the resulting settlement delivered an estimated $600 million tax benefit to the president, his family, and affiliated businesses.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I speak in opposition to the nomination of Todd Blanch to be Attorney General. He should be rejected for 5 broad reasons. The first is he has used the Department of Justice to enrich the President of the United States, and that is not the job of an Attorney General. Now, how has he done this? Well, let's look at the IRS settlement. And bear in mind, this was a lawsuit brought by Donald Trump not as a private citizen. He had every opportunity to bring this lawsuit in between his first term and his second term, but he did not do so. In fact, he waited so long that the statute of limitations ran on that potential claim. He waited until he became president. Now, why did he wait to bring this $10 billion lawsuit until he became president? He waited so that he would have the power of the presidency to leverage the IRS and the Justice Department to make him more money. So he waits till he's president. He sues the IRS for $10 billion. In a stunning act of self-dealing, he purports to settle with himself. He's represented by his personal lawyers on the one hand and by his other lawyers at the Department of Justice on the other hand, in a collusive use of the litigation process that was found by a judge in Florida to be a potential fraud on the court, to be brought for an improper purpose of extracting some kind of financial benefit to the president, and boy, was it a benefit. By some estimates in Forbes, $600 million of tax benefit for the president, his family, his sons, the businesses, the affiliates, and all the rest of that. Now, there was an effort, and I appreciate my colleagues from Texas and North Carolina making an effort to try to rein in this tax settlement. But what they attempted to achieve has not been achieved. As my colleague from Texas rightly asked during his questioning of Todd Blanch during the confirmation hearing, this is purportedly an agreement between two parties. Can you, representing just one of them or speaking for just one of them, bind the other? And the answer was no. Blanch acknowledged that no, his statement alone couldn't bind the parties. The president could insist for his.
Moving to his third and fourth accusations, Schiff alleges that Blanch withheld documents from the Epstein investigation to shield the president, releasing them only partially after being caught in what Schiff calls a cover-up. Schiff also says the botched release published victims' names, photos, and home addresses. On the taxpayer funds charge, he tells the Senate that former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn has already received $1.25 million from public money.
Is that his efforts to protect the president and others in the Epstein files investigation is a scandalous abuse of power. He withheld documents implicating the president to protect the president. He has never been able to shed his role as criminal defense lawyer for Donald Trump. He withheld records, only complied even partially with the requirement of the law that he disclose them when he was found out in that effort of cover-up and concealment. And what's more, his mismanagement of the release of the files has victimized the victims again by publishing their names, their likenesses, their photos, their addresses. We should not confirm anyone so incompetent, someone so indifferent to the suffering of these victims, someone who only met with them because he was going to be refused confirmation for his refusal to do so. someone who met with the prime co-conspirator of Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and sought exculpatory statements from her, brought no one of any experience with the case. Who would do that as an experienced prosecutor? Go interview someone in custody in a high-profile case without bringing anyone who worked on that case who could tell them the questions to ask, who could press them when they dissembled and lied, as this witness has a history of doing. And then oversees her transfer to a minimum security prison and gives us the false explanation here in the Senate that he did so to protect her from threats. Such a person should not be confirmed as Attorney General. Number 4, he has sought to compensate cop beaters with your money, with taxpayer funds. And I have to say again, nothing in this new signed document of the Attorney General, nothing in this stops the President from doing it. And the President has told us he fully intends to do this. Indeed, they're already paying off the President's cronies. Do you remember Michael Flynn, the erstwhile National Security Advisor to the President? He's already been paid $1.25 million of your taxpayer money. This is a guy who pled guilty twice to lying to the FBI about his contacts with the Russians, and he's already made $1.25 million off your money, not using this weaponization slush fund, but using the DOJ's victim fund, the judgment fund, as a slush fund. And these cop beaters are already signaling their intention to file claims under the Federal Tort Claims Act. So even if the weaponization fund doesn't move.
For his 5th and final charge, Schiff takes on Blanch's ethics directly. Blanch had told the committee he recused himself from all cases in which he defended Donald Trump, and that his boast at a CPAC appearance was rhetoric, not an admission of action. Schiff now produces the actual termination notice for Peter Carr, a spokesperson on Jack Smith's prosecution of Trump, bearing Blanch's own signature, submitted as direct evidence that the recusal was violated.
Was violated the Code of Ethics. Now, that may seem like a small thing given all the other violations, but it ought to matter to us. He violated in this IRS slush fund tax settlement case, as the judge in Florida found and suspects, and referred him to the Bar Association for his conduct in that collusive settlement. But more than that, during his testimony to this committee, I asked him about comments he made to CPAC, that conservative convention. Remember those comments he made bragging about how there wasn't a single person left standing in the Justice Department or the FBI who had anything to do with the cases against Donald Trump, and how he was applauded at CPAC for that. And I asked him, how is that consistent with the ethics advice that you admitted to this committee you received from the Justice Department, that you have said you followed, that told you you must recuse yourself from involvement in any case in which you defended Donald Trump? How is that consistent? And his answer was, oh, I was just saying those things to CPAC. I wasn't saying I did it. I was just saying all those people got fired. But here's the thing. He did fire people involved in the cases against Donald Trump. In fact, we heard testimony last week of one of the people he fired, and here is his termination notice. This is Todd Blanch's signature on a notice of removal from federal service for Peter Carr. Peter Carr was one of the primary spokespeople for Jack Smith's investigation. He was the spokesperson against the president in the president's prosecution for inciting a violent attack on the Capitol. Todd Blanch writes, this memorandum serves as official notice that you are removed from your position of public affairs specialist with the Department of Justice. Signed by Todd Blanch, recused from any involvement in firing anyone in the cases in which he defended the president, firing someone involved in the cases in which he defended the president. So this is someone who has violated his code of ethics blatantly, misled this committee in testimony.
The Senate has now heard Schiff's full 5-count case against Todd Blanch. The Judiciary Committee has already advanced the nomination. The full chamber vote is next. Whether Blanch survives confirmation with that signed termination notice on the record will show exactly where the Republican majority stands on the independence of the Justice Department. This is the D.C. brief.